In a land where cacti outnumber cell towers and the horizon stretches further than a fiber optic cable, it's time for Valley's Bits, Bytes and Banter, the podcast that looks a bit behind the scenes of a broadband provider, takes a big bite out of the tech world, and serves up a healthy dose of banter with people in our community. And now, without further ado, here's your host, Bob Dahlstrom.
Hi, everybody. Like Lee Patterson said in the introduction, I'm Bob Dahlstrom, along with my co-host and partner in crime, Ralph Score.
I am here this morning.
You're tuning
this
in
evening, or whatever time this is.
Today,
Yeah, today.
in this moment in time, for Valley's Bits, Bytes and Banter podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And, of course, you're listening to this on wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
We're now available on Apple Podcast app, which we're thrilled to finally be approved on that.
Yeah.
Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Podbean.
We're also on
places.
YouTube. We're on YouTube.
And on YouTube, yes.
And we're on our blog page on our website.
vtc.net/blog. You can listen to all the episodes, including this most current one. And for those that don't know, if you're new to our blog, welcome, or our podcast on the blog. Yeah. And if you didn't know, what we do is we talk a little bit about what's going on in the tech world, maybe a little bit about what we have going on in our company, in the broadband provider industry. But the main feature is a special guest, and we do have a great special guest
We have a
today
great
as
guest
well.
today. Yeah.
We really do.
She makes really good cookies, by the way, just to let you know.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Into some sampling. Hopefully, we'll see. I've said I'm trying to refrain from doing those while we're
The show will
talking.
never sound the same again.
No, nor will anybody want it to.
That's right.
With a mouthful of cookies. They look amazing. They smell amazing. All right. Anyway.
So what's going on, Bob?
Well, let's talk about streaming. All right.
Oh, I love streaming.
I got some stats here for you that I thought were interesting about what Americans streamed last year in 2023. And most of these are in minutes. Okay.
Wow.
The number one scripted television show that people streamed. Any idea what that was? I mean, it could be any kind of show, right? It could be new, it could be original, it could be old. But it was a show. It was Suits.
Oh, yeah. You know, that just came out. That just came out in the streaming level not too long ago.
Yeah, on Netflix. 57.7 billion minutes of Suits were streamed.
I was a huge fan of that show when
Americans.
it was on. I think it was on USA Network when it first came out, and it was like
Right.
it was like must-see watching for me, you know.
Yeah, it was one of those like Burn Notice, right? That was an
same
incredibly entertaining show. Loved it. Loved Burn Notice, one of my favorite shows. Favorite kids show in 2023 that was streamed was Bluey.
Oh, yeah.
43.9 billion minutes.
You know, and
streamed.
parents refer to Bluey all the time about how they've been educated about their kids because of Bluey.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. And we're going back old shows. Do you have any idea what that might be that was most streamed in relation to minutes?
Oh, boy. Well, I'm pretty old, so I can't count my stuff. So it's been like Dark Shadows or something like that.
It was actually Friends.
Oh, my gosh.
Believe it or not, last year, 25 billion minutes. Friends, they attributed partially to Matthew Perry passing away last year. It was people getting reacquainted with it.
Well, it's an old show because those guys are old now.
It ran 10 seasons, and it's been off the air at least 10 years by now. Yeah. The number one original streaming show. Made for streaming. You have any idea what that would be?
Ellen, any idea?
No, because I knew the Friends answer, but I was being quiet.
Oh, no. Hey, you could, if you know, like,
you can pipe
I know.
into this. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It was actually Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah. For Apple.
16.9 billion minutes.
My understanding is
For
that
Apple.
that is some people are, it's like a religion to them, you know, as far as Ted Lasso and the show.
Well, I think it was a great show. It really surprised me, but I think that's a bit much. If you think of it that way, I really do. Do you know what the number one streamed movie was?
Oh, boy. Now, is this an original or one that's already been out?
It could have been any, but I'm going to tell you it was released in theaters. I will tell you that.
Top Gun. Maverick.
Oh, good guess, but no. It was Moana. It came out in 19 or something like that.
Now,
Moana was the number one streamed movie.
That live action? Or
No.
animation?
Animated.
They're working on the live action. Aren't they working on the live action for it?
Yeah, they are actually.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
That's what
unfortunately.
Disney does.
They're going to try that out as well. And a sequel to Moana.
Yeah.
The Moana's
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Can't even say it. Moana. And so why are we talking about streaming? Well, because there's so much content out there, right? It's like New content, old content, everything that's ever been created seems to be on streaming somewhere. But how do you find it? How do you know which platform it's on? How do you know which device to stream it with?
Go stream now.
Go stream now. It's part of our website now, right? GoStreamNow.com/VTC. It has all the information, breakdown of the different platforms, the pros and cons of each. You can go to their website, and if there's a subscription level, you can click the link and go to that and subscribe. If you need to know what device works best for each platform, it'll tell you that.
And you can buy
pros
them.
and cons. You can buy it from there. And even if you wanted to subscribe to, say, live TV, you want to get rid of satellite dish or whatever, and you want to subscribe to, I don't know, Hulu Live, let's say that.
Yeah.
All that information about that is on there, pricing and what it contains, and a link again to sign up.
It really is a great aggregator that gives you all the information in one place instead of having to bounce all over the internet trying to find what you're looking for. You can go to one site, get the lowdown on everything streaming.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It's all, and if you're not sure do I have enough bandwidth to do all that, you can take the bandwidth estimator quiz to see where you're at there. Because even if maybe you can't get that bandwidth, at least you're educated enough to know I can't do 2 streaming devices at once, but I can do 1.
Yeah, wait till 8K comes around.
Yeah, and then that's really going to eat it up after that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Those numbers and minutes. We are streaming a lot of content, us Americans.
I like it.
We're getting going.
I have some weird trivia facts for us today, and these deal with animals.
Okay.
So did you know, and I'm ashamed to say this because I'm partly Scottish, but the national animal of Scotland is a unicorn?
Well, why not?
I know. Is it rainbow colored? That's all I want to know. Right?
Wait a minute. Why? Don't you haven't you ever seen a unicorn? Is that what you're saying, Ralph?
I just don't know.
They're elusive?
Okay, a group of flamingos is ready for this. It's called a flamboyance.
That's appropriate.
That makes sense.
That's very appropriate. Flamboyance. I like that.
And a group of ferrets is called a business. Not the business. I had a friend who had a pet ferret.
Not the business.
That ferret's business was to bite everybody who came around.
And to smell wonderfully.
Yeah.
A business of ferrets.
And did you know that dolphins sleep with one eye open?
Well, you can't trust other dolphins.
That's right.
That's why you do that. You sleep with one eye open.
And here's one about the most dangerous animal of all, humans, right? And this is the shortest war in history was the Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896. It lasted 38 minutes.
Who won?
Anglo.
Question.
The British one. The immediate cause of the war was the death of the Sultan of Zanzibar, whose nephew seized power, but he was regarded by the British as far too independent. So they bombarded the palace, and 38 minutes later, a white flag of surrender was raised over what was left of the palace, and that ended what is widely regarded as the shortest war in history. And that ends our weirdo trivia for the week, or the day, or the show.
Those are things I did not know.
Yeah. Did not know.
Yes.
Probably didn't want to know either.
Well, I'll never be able to unforget them.
I'm the keeper of spurious facts. Yeah. That's all I know.
I will try to forget them as best as I can, but I doubt I can. But good information. You know what? Speaking of streaming, thank you for streaming our podcast. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and introduce our special guest. So stick around.
Valley Telecom Internet keeps you connected at the speed of life. Our fiber optic network provides fast speeds with unlimited data, whether you're gaming, streaming, or downloading your favorite podcasts. To find out what speeds are available in your area, give us a call at 800-421-5711 or go to vtc.net. Life moves pretty fast, and so should your internet. So get connected with Valley Telecom. And don't forget to download the latest episodes of Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter. I'm Bob Dahlstrom, along with my co-host Ralph Score. And guys, if you have any questions, comments, or even your own trivia that you want to let us know about, email us. You can do it at podcast@teamvtg.net. Yeah, let's say reach out to us. And of course, you can find us on social media, right?
Yeah.
Valley Telecom, Facebook.com/Valley Telecom, on Instagram @Valley_Telecom, and on Twitter /X @Valley_Telecom.
You notice that they've really gotten rid of the Twitter logo now completely?
Yeah, well, they've completely slowly peeling that away.
You don't find the bird anymore.
It's you can never find the bird.
You find the bird, just don't find it there.
Yeah. Now X, they want everybody to call it X, which is just
that's so Elon.
That's so yeah. Anyway, We're there too. Yes. Welcome back. But guys, it's time to introduce our special guest. Now, she graduated from Canyon Del Oro High School. I went back a little bit.
Oh, boy. You did.
I did. You attended and graduated from the University of Arizona. Go Wildcats. You're a member of the Northern Cochise Community Hospital District Board.
Correct.
You're the vice president of Western Bank and the branch manager of the Willcox branch, right?
Yes.
And you are very active in our local community programs, and you're an excellent baker, which we'll get into later. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about Ellen Kauffman. Ellen, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming, and you, maybe against your best judgment.
My better judgment.
You're here.
I
appreciate you coming.
I don't have a bucket list, but I think I need to write one out so I can cross this off.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, make sure it's Bytes with a Y and Banter.
Banter.
Spell
That's
that right.
a new milestone for us. We made a bucket list. Oh my gosh.
So how long have you been in the banking industry?
In the banking business.
Yeah, I almost said baking.
With
you
an N. I started at Western Bank just over 10 years ago. Started as a loan assistant, and series of events kind of got us to that spot, one of those weird situations in life that you don't plan for. But I figured I'd work there a little bit, a couple of years, and then, wouldn't stay for very long. But I quickly moved up to a loan officer, and then years later became the branch manager and vice president. So it's one of those perfect storms, I guess. Things just kind of fit into place, and it actually is a career I love. I like solving problems. I like working with people. I actually like paperwork. I'm one of those weird people. I like math. I have an accounting degree.
I was going to say, you graduated with a degree in accounting.
Yeah, so this is the first job I've had that probably used all of those skills in one spot. So it's a good fit for me. And I think the bank is going to keep me on a little longer, so I think it's a good fit for them as well.
Sounds like a good move by them to keep you on a little longer.
Yes.
And I'm sure you appreciate that.
I do.
But what were you doing before that, before you got hired at Western Bank?
I was a homeschool mom, 2 sons, so I was their teacher, so did that. My husband was in real estate business and real estate investments, so I had my real estate license for years. I'd done real estate and helped him, or was on my own, depending what stage we were in our life, but a lot of real estate out of Tucson. And then out of college, actually, I had my accounting degree, did not want to be an accountant. And so I worked at Westwood Look doing early morning food service.
Oh, really?
Catering things, for them. And then I got hired on by a nonprofit organization. And it's funny, I got hired to stuff envelopes. And then within a week, he's like, "Can I just hire you to do everything else I need done?" And I said, "Sure." So it was like a one-man show. So
you did it all.
I did it all. So yeah, so kind of a little this and a little bit of that.
And that's here go a little even deeper into that. That's where you met your husband.
I met my husband through real estate. Right, we worked at the same real estate office. Yep.
That's awesome. So you grew up in Tucson.
I grew up in Tucson. Yep, born and raised.
And you moved to a smaller town. You moved to Willcox.
I moved to Willcox.
What was that like to transition like that?
The reason that we got here was not a good reason. It was the real estate crash. We lost our money, our assets. Like, we just couldn't stay where we were. And we had an opportunity to move here. We had a house that we couldn't sell that was here. And so we actually moved into that house. So I know my husband was very concerned I was going to go into shock from leaving everyone I've known my entire life to coming to some place where I think we knew 3 people.
Right.
Or he knew 3 people. I didn't know them yet. And so I actually loved it. I love the small town. Where I grew up in Tucson, it used to be small town, and then now it's not. So this reminds me of my small town roots of living outside of Tucson, where you knew everybody, all the kids in the neighborhood played together.
Right.
You didn't lock your doors, that kind of thing. I still lock my doors, but
it's a smart thing to do, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but I love this town, and we quickly learned that this town is a very generous town, a very caring town. And just some of the events we'd gone to see the monies raised for different people or different events just shocked me.
Right.
And so that's one thing I really love about Willcox.
It's funny. I think Ralph and I have talked about this before. I was born in Detroit, and I've lived all over the place because of my dad's work. And towns much smaller than Willcox, towns much bigger, larger than Willcox. I love Willcox. It's a great town.
It's a great town.
It really is. And I think we're lucky enough to live here.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of activities you were involved in, at least, right? You still have kids in school, or
nope. One graduated from college this year, and he'll be going on to law school. And then my younger one graduated from high school and is now working full time. So
Oh, man.
Yeah, so no more sport. Well, I'm still going to go to sporting events because I don't think I can cut that off cold turkey.
Right? That's hard to do.
So I'll still be at basketball games and football games and such, but
With cookies.
maybe, yeah.
With cookies.
Well, some of the younger players know I make cookies, so I think I'm going to be requested to continue to make cookies.
If they're brave enough to reach out and
They
ask,
will.
yes,
Demand.
excuse me, Mrs. Kauffman.
Just
Yes.
all you have to do is come down and open an account.
Yeah, come on. Let's talk about it at the bank. Come on down to the bank.
Speaking of which,
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's
Good
talk about
segue there.
banking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Banking and cybersecurity. All right, let's talk about that. It's such a big deal right now. And how does that affect banking? Well, obviously, online banking.
Right.
But not only there, it affects banking entirely.
Yes, everything. So with the benefits of the digital age come the downfalls of the digital age.
Right.
I think that the biggest threat to anything is ourselves as far as digital banking goes. Human error.
Right.
Because that's what the scammers and those nefarious type people are looking for, is people who aren't paying attention, don't know what's right, what's wrong, and just being so busy in their life that they're just like, here, do this, I'll click on this. And those scammers are, other than their spelling on those emails, they're very good at scaring you into thinking something's wrong or I need to do this right away. And again, we try to educate our client base, our customer base, that what to look out for,
Right.
and what not to fall into. Because again, it's the human that's going to open that door to let that person into their life, into their computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a two-edged sword anymore. MFA or multi-factor authorization's the big buzzword now because of all the things. Cybersecurity, obviously, we've seen a lot of hacks lately, data breaches going on in all different industries.
I get a letter probably once a month from either a medical doctor or something else that we've had in the last 10, 20 years. And to say, hey, we've had a security breach with your information. They don't necessarily know what information's been taken or had access to. But yeah, this is why I have a security freeze on my credit report, which is, we will be discussing that.
That's a good idea. Some tips here. We're going to get into some of those tips because those are wonderful tips. You're right. And that's part of the problem when they go in there and they do these data breaches. They just gather a bunch of information. The old term was a snatch and grab, right?
Mm-hmm.
Smash and grab, where you just grab a bunch of data. You don't know what they have. They don't know what they have until they
And they
start
may not
sifting
use it
through
right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll sit on it for a while and
Right.
then use it at some other time. So you're right. How they get that information a lot of times is through us.
Right.
We put our information out there online.
Well, and they send you an email or send you a text and they scare you into thinking, I've got to act right away or else.
Yeah.
And if you stop and think about, does that really happen? We've had, and we can discuss later too, but people call like, is my social security card suspended? I'm like,
Yeah.
they don't suspend social security cards
No.
or numbers.
And they don't send you a text.
They don't send you a text. IRS is not going to call you and tell you
No.
to buy gift cards to
No.
pay off your debt.
The
So
IRS is just going to show up at your door with guys.
they send a letter.
Yeah, they
IRS
send
sends a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't call.
Right.
So there's a lot of there's so much to know, and again, our older generation, they trust people, and that's who a lot of these people
Yeah.
are going after is older folks that are scared into, well, I got to do this now.
Well, let's get into the tips and tricks. Let's talk about that because we'd spend a couple episodes probably just talking about this alone.
Mm-hmm.
But for the banking industry, what are some things immediately people can do right away to help protect themselves from? And it's hard to find anybody that has been affected by a data breach anymore.
Right.
But if they have not, how can they protect themselves starting right now?
Okay. There's 3 credit bureaus, and they need to contact all 3 of them and put a credit freeze on their account if there has been no fraud, because there's a fraud alert you can do and there's a credit freeze. You can do the credit freeze online. You can call in. The problem is when you do need to have your credit pulled, you need to go in and unfreeze it. So you got to make sure you keep that password someplace. But my husband and I have done that with our accounts because we have had data breaches notifications to us.
Right.
Also, just when you're getting emails or getting texts, stop and think, why would this person have my number? Why would this person have my email? Should they? Am I even subscribed to that? Or am I even I get stuff from other banks all the time that, hey, your card's been compromised. I'm like, I don't bank with you.
Right.
But they want you to click the button, put in some numbers, and then they have a password for something they can try later. So doing that and just trust but verify. That's one of our bank keywords is
I like that.
Trust but verify. I think that's a Ronald Reagan quote. So this week, I had received from a customer wire instructions to send a wire. And I looked at the wire instructions. I'm like, that's not the wire instructions for that entity. And I knew it was fraud. So I called the entity and I said, hey, have your wire instructions changed? And they're like, no. Mm-hmm. So somehow that customer had been hacked. Somehow either his email or it could have been the entity's email, something. And so again, there's a lot of double checking and rechecking and making sure things are correct.
I think another area that people aren't even aware of is the stuff that you'll come across on social media.
Yeah.
Because it's not even coming to you directly, but you look at something and you go, well, this looks legit. And all of a sudden you go, well, I better do something about this because people buy into the emotional narrative.
Yes.
And
they want to scare you into quick action.
That takes them down the rabbit hole.
It does.
Totally.
Right. And we give up information without even realizing we do it. So as an example, you're talking about social media, you'll see some of these are fun to play. I want to play.
What's your favorite color?
Yeah. What's your
first pet's
based
name?
on the month you were born, what's your favorite color?
What
what's your
street
pet's
did
name?
you grow up on?
That's password information that you're just freely giving to people. So always keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. Just because people are asking for information doesn't mean you need to give it.
Right.
Yeah. Save it.
Keep your private information private.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's right.
At all times, and
keep it to yourself.
And the new girlfriend you have that you met on Facebook that you've never spoken to, but you've only texted. That's probably not her picture. I've had to have that conversation with a customer that was heartbreaking. Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
That's tough.
Older gentleman was asked to send money
to his, play on the emotions
to
all
his
the
girlfriend,
time.
and he showed me a picture, and I'm like, sir, I don't know how to tell you this. That's probably not who you're chatting with.
That's Scarlett Johansson.
There was another one, yes, but yeah, I've had that one too.
Yeah.
I've had several that charity scams.
Oh yeah,
as well.
And they're constantly looking for it. And like you said, a general rule: if people are approaching you and asking you for stuff, asking you for information that you did not want to give to people, don't give it to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep it safe.
And what's the saying? Don't be stupid. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Not to sound rude, but that's
not that you guys are stupid out there.
Just take a minute and just think about that. Like you said, did I ask for this? Why would a person want this information from me?
And another one that's very popular is, hey, I'm gonna like the one that's a car. I'm gonna get your car wrapped with our logo. I'm gonna send you money. You're gonna go to the car wrapping place. Oops, I sent you too much money. Can you send me a check back?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who in the world needs to send you money for them to send you money back? Like that's a scam that we see quite a bit.
And they're very aggressive about it.
Oh,
when
yes.
They get you on the phone
they'll get mad
or
at
whatever.
You.
They get very mad.
They get angry. One thing we do as a bank is we ask questions of our customers. So they come in, hey, I'm going to send a wire to Uganda. Oh, really? And a lot of the customers, I think, hey, you're being nosy. I'm like, no, we're trying to save you.
Yeah.
Right.
We're trying to protect your money, your assets. And so we do ask questions. If it looks out of sorts, if it's an unusual wire, if you've never sent a wire in your life, if you're older, and we kind of ask questions to find out, hey, why are you doing this? Again, not to get into your business, but we're trying to save you.
Yeah. Well, that is your business, is to protect people's money and finances, and it's protecting them. It's also protecting the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and protecting both, and asking those questions. Some people do get a little taken aback by that, but then if they like you're saying, if you just take a minute to think why they're asking that. Why would anybody else want to know that and respond accordingly?
Well, I know, like, anytime I'm going to go out of state, I notify the bank that I'm going to go out of state so that they're aware I'm going to be spending money in Massachusetts or wherever I'm going to, because otherwise it's like anybody could have got your card information and be making purchases. So
yeah, exactly right. So you said that you try to educate your customers at the bank and stuff. Is there things you do on a regular basis to do that, or how do you get the word out to your customers?
It probably starts with our frontline staff. As we make sure that they are well educated. We do a lot of training, and whether it's sit down and watch a video training, or like something happened this week, I'm like, we're having a lobby meeting real quick. This is what happened. This is what we need to look for, just to refresh them. Like, if you get a wire instructions, does that look legitimate? Does that match their logo? Things like that. And then with our customers, when they're opening a new account, or if they have fraud on their card or something, we try to talk to them and say, hey, you probably shouldn't be having your card out there, because we have some people that have fraud on their card over and over and over. I've never had fraud on my card because I keep my private information private.
That's right. So it can't happen.
Yeah. So where are you putting that information out to? So, and again, you can have a breach no matter how safe you are. because of other people are getting into Walmart or to Target or whatever and getting that card information.
That's like doing a purchase on a public Wi-Fi hotspot. You know, it's like how do you know how secure that hotspot is and who's
there waiting for you to log in?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So again, it's a lot of one-on-one. You know, when fraud does occur, we try to have that conversation right there and explain what we can. We do Facebook posts and things like that too to kind of warn people, but I don't know how many people actually open up their bank's
There's only a certain
Facebook post to see.
Yeah.
You know, it's cybersecurity month, and you know, do they care? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's only certain people that are going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, only a small amount. There's true. Good information and a strong password, and don't use the same password for everything.
And get a password keeper.
A password keeper always helps. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to continue talking with Ellen Kauffman. When we come back, stick around.
Join Bob Dahlstrom and Ralph Score right here as they provide a look behind the curtain of a broadband provider on Valley Telecom's new podcast, Bits, Bytes, and Banter. In every episode, they will take a bite out of the tech world and provide a healthy dose of banter with people in our community. Plus, they'll share funny stories and a bit about what is going on in their worlds. Look for Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And welcome back to Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you've listened to this on our website, vtc.net/blog, or wherever you get your podcasts, maybe the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean.com, or other locations as well. And we're talking with Ellen Kauffman today. And Ellen, we were talking before the break about passwords. I just want to real quick, you mentioned a password keeper. For people who may not know what a password keeper is, what is that?
A password keeper is an app on your phone or your computer, and it holds all of your passwords for everything. It can make up complex passwords for you, or you can put, you know, I love my baby doll, whatever. But that password keeper has a very extensive password to get into it. So you need to know one password to get into that app, and then you'll have all your passwords in there. Not on a notepad, not on a piece of paper, not under your computer, not in your wallet, but it's in your phone.
Not your pet's name.
No.
Don't do that as a password.
No.
There's lots of tips and keys, and it's interesting because I've gotten better about it myself just over the years, just seeing what happens in being in the broadband industry. But there was a gentleman too with CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency. That's a mouthful. And the region guy is in Tucson, and he and I presented at one place, and that was his big deal. It was hitting about passwords, and he gets some great tips. There's a bug that's riding along on this podcast right here.
Good thing we're not doing video.
Get away from the cookies.
Yeah,
don't get near the cookies,
cookies,
whatever you do. And he gave some great tips on how you can easily come up with a very long password that's easy to remember.
Yeah.
And great tips. Too much to go into on this.
Replacing the letters with a number, or like the 3 for an E, or an at for an O. Just replacing numbers with letters is another way to kind of slow down
if you have a favorite Bible verse, if you have a favorite song, the first letter of each word, and then add something else to it.
Or a lyric,
all of a sudden, next thing you know, you've got a long string of a password.
I think they said something about at least 14 characters. Gives you a really a decent level of security as far as how long it's break. Now, let's talk a little bit about local banking. As far as I know, we talk about
we
shopping
talked about
local
security,
now.
but let's talk about
local banking. Fantastic. So Western Bank is a community bank, not a national bank. So we're located in Lordsburg originally, started in 1907. So been around before either state was either territory was a state. Silver City, New Mexico, Willcox, Arizona, and Bisbee, Arizona. So we service that region. We don't do loans outside of the region. We do have customers outside the region only because they lived here first and then they moved and they're like, we don't want to change banks. But we don't go looking for business out of the area. So we service our community, we serve in our community, things like that. A couple things that people may not understand is banks make money by lending out money. So we use our depositor money, and then we lend out a portion of that to local businesses, people, things like that. So there's something called the fractional money system, and that is the way that the banks just distribute that money while keeping liquidity within that bank. So for instance, you have a $100,000 deposit at the bank will keep $10,000 of that on hand, and then $90,000 of that gets lent out. So instead of the bank just having $100,000, that community now has $100,000 in deposits plus $90,000 lent out to a business, let's say. So now there's $190,000 active in that community.
Right.
That $90,000 gets put into another bank, let's say, or someplace else, and then they keep a portion, and then again, so it can trickle down. So that $100,000 is doing more than just that $100,000 can do. When you have a local deposit or local bank, that money stays here. So our deposits, that bug's back, I see it. I'm not afraid of him. I just don't want to suck them in.
Yeah, that'd be my.
So
he's
That'd be
after
my
the
concern.
He's after the cookies.
he may be. So our deposits stay local and then get reinvested with small businesses, real estate loans, car loans, cattle loans in this area, farms, ranches. We do a wide range of different type of loan types here in the valley. So that money stays here. When you deposit your $100,000 into a national bank, I will not mention names, but
There are a few to choose from.
There's some to choose from.
Yeah.
Where does that money go? Where does that 90% go to? Are they lending that money locally, or is that money getting pooled with everyone else's 90% of their deposits and being sent to New York City, San Francisco, a foreign country, China? Like, who knows where that money is going?
Right.
So that money isn't helping grow that community. It isn't helping the businesses grow, hire more employees, get more equipment, have lines of credit, things like that. So that fractional money system it's more than just that initial deposit. It's growing and it's helping serve that entire community. A little interesting trivia tidbit for you is less than 20% of banking assets are in community banks. This is nationally. So less than 20% of assets are in a community bank, but more than 60% of small business lending is from a community bank.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that is that, like, the consolidation of large banks?
Well, and where can you make more money quicker? Like, I do a lot of small loans for my smaller business customers. They can do one loan and have my entire volume done in one loan elsewhere.
That's true.
So
It's like anything else. That's why they think about the bigger areas more than a smaller community.
Well, and there's been banks that have left here because they don't have the loan volume to support themselves, or choose not to have the loan volume to support themselves because the loan volume's here. It's just, do you choose to access it or
there
not?
is one national bank, I won't say the name, that changed they made it even more restricted purposely so they could move out of the local communities, smaller communities.
Right, so they can say, I'm not making any money here. So
Exactly right.
And then just another little trivia is 64% of farm real estate and 61% of farm lines of credits are from community banks. So we're in a farming community here, and
Yes,
again,
we
this is nationally. So that's a large number that community banks are supporting farmers and their business.
That's a great explanation of how local banking impacts smaller communities, local communities right here. It just keeps feeding itself.
Right. So you just think of, we loan money to business A can hire more people. Those people can then support their family better. They can buy cars, they can buy more food. It just circles around.
And I know part of the concern used to be that, it's a smaller bank, they don't have the pull or they don't have the recognition maybe a local larger bank might have when I go anywhere. That's no longer the case at all.
Yeah, I think people's biggest concern is like, I want to use my ATM card to get cash anywhere. I'm like, do you really use your ATM to get cash, your card? Because everything's just swipe and tap and go. So that's usually people's big complaints is like, well, what if I go to Phoenix and I can't get cash? I'm like, go to a Walmart.
Yeah.
Buy a drink and get $20 cash back. So
it's funny because I was one of these guys that when I first, and I bank at Western Bank, but I was like, no, I don't want a debit card. I don't want to do that online. What? I don't trust anybody. Just give me something I can get cash with, And then I went, I have to go out of town. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Can I get a debit card now? And now it's like, there's no going back now.
Yeah.
Well, just like you're saying, shop here at Safeway. I always get cash back right there when I do it, the transaction. Yep. Easy peasy.
Well, and then the other side of that is that convenience. Okay, you can get your cash anywhere. When you call into one of those larger companies, is it an 800 number? And who are you talking to?
Yeah.
You call into our bank, I answer the phone, all the tellers answer the phone. You're getting someone that you've seen, someone that you know, someone who knows you, and probably recognizes your voice.
We get birthday cards from you guys.
You get birthday cards from us. Sometimes this is so sweet and it's heartbreaking at the same time. Our older customers, they're like, you're the only person who sent me anything for my birthday. And their family has died off or isn't in touch. That outreach really goes a long way to making people's day. So that's just a small little piece of what we do.
And just one example, I would never want to live anywhere else but in a community like Willcox. A smaller community where you know each other, you look out for one another, and the level of service you get from the businesses here is unmatched.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's so many local businesses that give and give and give. Like you go to an event and their name is on every banner, on every plaque. Like they give and give and give.
Right.
And we as a bank, we also do donations to local nonprofits and local events, sports teams. The last 2 years, we have a foundation that all the money from our foundation is donated by our employees, our board of directors, all that. So I think we have 100% participation from our staff that donates to that throughout the year.
Is that the Boot Heel?
The Boot Heel Foundation,
Right.
yes. And so we gave away teacher grants. I think it was $40 or $60,000 between the 4 branches.
Wow.
But we give, like, they put an application and this is what I need for my classroom, and sometimes it's $300 and other times it's thousands of dollars, but they want to do something they can't fund through the school system. So we've done that. We even have a fund that we put in locally, like each branch has their own little fund. So if one of our employees' mom gets sick and they've got to drive to Phoenix, we'll give them gas money to go do that. So we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, and we take care of our community.
Now talk about the cookies.
I was going to say, do you include cookies in any of these donations? Because you are donating cookies to us today, which we very much appreciate.
You're very
Ellen.
welcome.
Thank you.
Well, when I saw your request for this podcast and you had like some information about me, I'm like, well, you've been on my LinkedIn account. Okay, you figured out my CDO and U of A, but then it said that you bake cookies for sports teams. I'm like, how in the world? And then I realized who works here, Wendy Hooper, and then I realized her son,
local connection,
Caden. When you told me, Ralph told me that Caden was involved in my research.
Yes,
yes, he was.
So local personality, historical research.
These are our good. We call them. My family calls these the good attitude cookies. My sons grew up playing tennis, competitive tennis, and for anyone who's played tennis, that is a very mentally stressful and physically stressful sport. And so I'd make cookies, and if you had a good attitude, even if you lost, you get cookies. Well, then the kids were going to high school, playing high school sports. I'm like, well, I'll make them for the team. So good attitude cookies for the team. Then the girls' team, basketball team said, well, can you make us some cookies? Actually, it was the managers. Can you make us some cookies? Well, I'm not going to make them for you and not for everybody else. So then I made them for that team. So, yeah, it's a thing.
It's just grown. It's grown and grown. Well, just looking at these cookies has given me a better attitude. I'll tell you that right now.
Good. They are a recipe from my mom's neighbor. She grew up in upstate New York. So when my mom was a kid, my mom's 89. So when my mom was a kid, that's a long time ago.
Right.
Maggie Osborne is the one that gave her the recipe. And we call them sour cream cookies because they do have sour cream in them. They're called soft sugar cookies on the recipe card.
My goodness.
They're like pillows. It's like, I'm going to go home and sleep with one of these tonight.
They're slightly addictive because you don't feel like you're eating very much.
Slightly
until
is
you had 4, and then you.
Ellen.
Well, that's perfect. That means they have no calories. That's perfect.
That's right.
I love that, Ellen.
So yeah, those are fresh baked this morning for you.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for bringing the cookies.
Welcome.
We're about to dive into that. So I guess that means we're coming to the end of our episode. Ellen Kauffman, thanks for being a guest today.
It's been my pleasure to be here.
Appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
Great to be here.
And we're looking forward to some great cookies. And guys, if you want to leave us any questions, comments, suggestions, podcast at teamvtg.net is the way to do it. And you can download our podcast on the Apple Podcast app at podbean.com, Spotify, iHeart, or vtc.net/blog, or check us out on YouTube. And guys, that's going to do it for Ralph Score and me, Bob Dahlstrom. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter. Have a great day, everybody.